The college baseball experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up now with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And it is showtime once again here on the College Baseball Experience. My name is Noah Bieniek, aka 77. I'm the host today, and we're going over some of Texas baseball's coaching candidates that you'll see kind of in conversation here throughout the next week. I think this is going to be a pretty fast moving thing here that happens this week, after the College World Series has just wrapped up. Texas, being the run of the mill, is going to have pretty close to their first option, I think, to fill in this head coaching vacancy. But, whenever there's an opening at a place like Texas, especially in college baseball, somewhat of the bluest of the blue bloods out there. I mean, it's Texas, it's LSU, and there's a little bit of a drop off there, in my opinion, based off of some recency success as well. So yeah, let's have some fun. Let's throw out quite a few coaching candidates, not just your normal ones that you've heard, thrown around everywhere that has put out some content on this. So yeah, early on Monday, if you did not see this, I don't blame you if you did not, but it was kind of everywhere. Texas, their athletic department and the former head baseball coach, David Pierce, announced that they would be mutually parting ways. Now, it's interesting that they announced it now. Like a school like Texas, you would think that you would want to get that done pretty quickly and just get your guy and then attack the transfer portal hard. But them waiting this long led you on to believe that they were targeting coaches that were still in the NCAA tournament. And typically you kind of do that out of respect to let them have their postseason run. And then it entices them more to join you because you're the good guy. What I will say about that is dropping it before game 3 of the national championship, before your rival plays in said game, is absolutely hilarious. They waited 3 weeks and they still ended up dropping it on the day of the game, which is just outstanding pettiness in college sports rivalries that you can't beat. So yeah, David Pierce spent 8 seasons with the Longhorns, taking Texas to 7 NCAA tournament appearances and 3 College World Series appearances. I want to make this well known, as I believe Pierce was a solid coach. He's missed the NCAA tournament just one time in his 13-year head coaching career. It was in 2019. He won 2 Big 12 Coach of the Year awards and even a Baseball America Coach of the Year award in his time with Texas. He also had 2. He had Cody Clemens, who was Division I National Player of the Year. In 2018, he had Ivan Melendez, who was the 2022 Golden Spikes Award winner, also getting the Dick Hauser trophy as well. And then Max Ballou this season, he won Big 12 Player of the Year. Like, this is a guy that has had some success at the stop. And since COVID, Pierce has always had Texas playing their best ball in late May and June. In 2021, Texas put up 50 wins, but ran into a buzzsaw known as Will Bednar in the College World Series. In 2022, the Longhorns had steep preseason expectations, underachieved them by a little bit, but with the help of Golden Spikes winner Ivan Melendez. Texas appeared in Omaha, but they went 0-2 and they were bounced by Texas A&M. In 2023 and 24, Texas had early struggles in the regular season, but were playing good ball entering the NCAA tournament. In 2023, a pop-up dropped in shallow outfield, sending Stanford to the College World Series. And then in 24, Texas A&M ripped the Longhorns' souls out after dark in extra innings in the Bryan College Station Regional. So yeah, this decision from the Texas side of things stems from more than just on-field performance. Sure, losing to A&M in the postseason is a bit frustrating, especially twice in the last 3 years. But I think the final straw was the pitching this past season for the Longhorns. I think staff turnover was concerning to the athletic department here. But the whole pitching situation over the past year was just a big red flag. It was reported, I don't remember where I had heard this last year, but Chris Del Conte has a track record and a what's the word, reputation of big game hunting as an athletic director. He was ready to pay up for Frank Anderson, who's currently the Tennessee pitching coach, just won a national championship with the Volunteers last night. He was ready to pay up for him to bring him back to Texas, where Anderson was an assistant coach from 2000 2003. Del Conte was ready to pull the trigger, but David Pierce wouldn't promise Anderson that he would give Anderson the full reins to the pitching staff. So Anderson didn't express additional interest after Del Conte originally sent out a feeler. David Pierce was the acting pitching coach in 2024 this past season when the staff was a train wreck compared to program standards. The team had an ERA of 4.91, which is the worst since 1999, plus the 4.3 walks per game was the third worst rate in program history. Pierce was a pitching specialist in his previous positions, and that was supposed to be his expertise. But after this past season being so poor compared to program standards, it's an understandable reason why he got the boot. I wanted to say, like, Pierce being the head coach and pitching coach, that's a lot of responsibility. And coming from, he made a large step up from Tulane to Texas, and you have to be willing to trust assistant coaches. And that seems to be where Pierce kind of got in his own way here. Before we get into some speculation, pure speculation on my part on some coaching candidates for the Texas job here, make sure you check out the Sports Gambling Podcast as they've started their top 10 fantasy football preview series. The quarterbacks and tight ends episodes are already live, and it's never too early for the National Football League. The college baseball experience is also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up today with promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Also, you could sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th for the Circa Millions and or Circa Survivor and use a proxy to play from anywhere throughout the season. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with promo code SGP. So, like I mentioned earlier, the athletic director for Texas, Chris Del Conte, has gone big game hunting in every sport he's made a new hire for. In football, Texas hired Steve Sarkisian. In basketball, they stole Texas Tech's national championship runner-up head man Chris Beard. Vic Schaefer was hired away from Mississippi State for women's basketball. CDC also hired away Oregon's Mike White for softball. Eldrick Floreal came in from Kentucky to coach track and field. Bob Bowman, who was Michael Phelps' old swim coach, is now the new swimming and diving coach for the Longhorns. And last but definitely not least, Texas women's golf coach, that just won the Big 12 Coach of the Year, resigned at the end of the season in 2024. And just 2 days after, literally in early June, 2 days after the retirement, CDC found his new woman in Lori Ianello from Arizona. She was there for 14 years and made 7 championship appearances. So let's jump into some of the Texas head coach candidates that I've prepared here for today's show. Personally, I think there's a guy that I would list at like minus 250 to get the job, but let's have some fun. Specifically based off the big game hunting trend that Chris Del Conte has shown in other sports at the University of Texas. Starting from least likely to most likely, I'm going to throw to you Tim Tadlock, who's built a great baseball program over there in Lubbock, but he played for the Red Raiders back in the day. He probably is not going to leave his alma mater for the Longhorns, but a strong candidate, been around the game in Texas for quite a bit, knows the recruiting area. He'd be all right. Another name that's been buzzy, Troy Tulowitzki doesn't have any head coaching experience, but his name has been floated out there because of his time as an assistant coach with the Longhorns under David Pierce. Tulo's hat was also thrown into the ring for the Long Beach State job earlier this offseason. David Esker is also a guy that is coaching at his alma mater, Stanford, right now, but maybe the switch to the ACC may just convince Esker to jump ship completely. Plus, Texas would love to have a chance to see Rintaro Sasaki in a Longhorns uniform next year. Esker took the Cardinal to 3 straight College World Series appearances. If you put him in Austin, the success may increase past, the 0-2 performances in Omaha. Why wouldn't Esker, you get the opportunity in Austin at the University of Texas? It would be a nice little pay raise, one, but also, you get to coach in the SEC. It would probably be your last stop in your coaching career. No place better to do that than the University of Texas. But also, why wouldn't Dave Van Horn be a candidate in the new search for Texas's next baseball head coach? Sure, he played for Arkansas in his career as well, but do you know where DVH grew up? Fullerton, California, during the heat of Augie Garrido's tremendous tenure with the Titans. Could CDC convince DVH to follow up in Augie's legacy? Would a change of scenery be good for Dave Van Horn after all the pressure that's been put on him at Arkansas? He's had great season after great season, winning regular seasons in the SEC left and right. And is it just kind of been thrown away to the side as normal practice that Arkansas baseball is just good in the regular season? Everybody complaining about how the offense doesn't translate into the postseason. Maybe a change of scenery where a team is going to respect the pitching prowess that, his team has brought recently. He's had some tremendous teams with the Hogs, don't get me wrong. And that's a tremendous place to be coaching at. I mean, in Fayetteville, one of the best stadiums in Baum Walker, one of the most passionate fan bases in the country. But maybe a change of scenery is the best for DVH. And like I said, I think your biggest selling point, if you're Texas, is to try to get him to follow up in Augie's legacy. Also, as I continue in this for fun category with quotation marks around it, what about Virginia's Brian O'Connor? Oak is only 53, and he's responsible for all 7 of Virginia's College World Series appearances. O'Connor has built that Who's baseball program, but I don't believe he had previous ties to Charlottesville. It would be a big check and an easier recruiting hotbed to lure O'Connor into Austin with his 885, 370, and 2 overall record. I mean, this guy grew up in Omaha, has taken Virginia to Omaha multiple times, just a flat out winner. Texas could use that. But now let's take it. All those are fun. Let's take a small step into the realm of possibility with the next couple, right? That's the right thing to do. We're 15 minutes in. Let's actually try to start talking about some business. Florida's Kevin O'Sullivan deserves a call. The problem is that he's received plenty of calls in recent years, with other programs attempting to lure him away from Gainesville, LSU being one of them. And if you turn down the LSU Tigers, I think there's a strong chance that Sully and his 9 career Omaha appearances is also going to turn down the Texas Longhorns too. But he's worth that call. He's worth that call for sure. Um, Oklahoma's Skip Johnson is also a name that's fluttering around a little bit because surprisingly, he's maybe the only qualified head coach candidate with Texas ties. Like there's not a ton of them out there right now that have been connected to. I'm not sure you want to go back to the David Pierce tree, but there's not many that are tied to Augie. And this is one of the few. Skip Johnson was there as an assistant coach for Augie from 2007 to 2016. Johnson's seat in Norman was pretty warm until the Sooners got extremely hot to finish the 2022 season, ending up as the runner-up in the College World Series that year. Let's go to the second Johnson here, and Wes Johnson. Johnsons are all over the place in consideration for this job. Wes had an outstanding year 1 with Georgia, where he absolutely smashed the low expectations in the preseason. As a pitching coach, his staff was a little less to be desired. However, the offense was incredible, and it wasn't just a one-man show with Charlie Condon. I mean, that offense up and down raked. Johnson hammered the transfer portal hard last offseason, and he's been dominating it from the get-go in 2024 too. So would he be willing to give up his golden incoming class to skip town to Austin? I personally doubt it, but that would be a great option for Texas, just to be able to hammer the transfer portal, all the Jimmies and Joes at the top of the recruiting rankings, both in the portal and from high school. If you're Texas, you can't ask for anything better. Jay Johnson is the third Johnson on the list. After winning the national championship in 2023 and following that up with a red-hot finish with LSU after just starting 3-12, why wouldn't you want to enter the SEC for your first season under Jay Johnson? Texas should be pretty interested here. However, I'm not sure Jay, who is already at a powerhouse here with LSU, and he's restored it with a natty already last season, I'm not sure how much and how eager he is to leave Baton Rouge here. Now let's start to heat things up. These are the names that are kind of in serious consideration here for Texas. Rob Vaughn's name has received some buzz for the vacant Longhorns job. Vaughn is only 36, and he's already got a strong track record as he led the Maryland Terrapins to 3 straight NCAA tournament appearances and also took Alabama to the tournament during his first year of rebuilding in Tuscaloosa, which was also his first year coaching in the Southeastern Conference. Vaughn is also a native of Corpus Christi, Texas. Rob Vaughn probably isn't high on Texas' list, but this would not be a consolation prize. I think this would be a strong and relatively reasonable hire for Chris Del Conte. Checking in on the YouTube chat. Oh, I'm not streaming on YouTube, by the way. We're testing out to see what kind of numbers we'll see if we're not going live on YouTube and we just upload it regularly. We'll see how this does. Maybe it changes in the future. Right now, we're live on Twitter, though. My personal and the TCE Twitter at TCESGPN. My personal Twitter, NoahB77 _. Now I'm going to take you to the man that coached for the Terps before Vaughn, Eric Bakich, who's currently at Clemson. He's more of a player developer than anything else. I don't know how he would handle just having the cream of the crop options when recruiting high schoolers and out of the portal. But I do know that Bakich laid a solid foundation at Maryland for 3 seasons before jumping over to Michigan and building that program into a Big Ten contender year in and year out, and parlaying that into a College World Series finals appearance, being 1 game away from a national championship after beating Vanderbilt in game 1. Still kills me to this day. Northern Baseball School, leading them to Omaha is an incredibly hard feat just because, I mean, you're not playing home games until the middle of March, late March, maybe even early May. And if you are playing home games before early May, you're playing home games in like 40-degree weather. It's very, very impressive. Eric Bakich would be a super solid hire here for CDC. And honestly, I don't think it should be too hard to pull off. Bakich is from San Jose, played college ball for East Carolina, doesn't have extreme ties to Clemson other than Jack Liggett and the Tigers gave him his first start in the coaching business. But Leggett's currently on his coaching staff. Bakich absolutely loves coaching at Clemson right now. But if Texas comes calling, I'm not sure he's going to be able to say no to a blank check that is being rumored that Texas is willing to write for a top college baseball coach in the country. And now let's get to the two elephants in the room. But wait a minute. Before I get to those two names, I first must ask you, where was Chris Del Conte as an athletic director previously? TCU. Where have both Texas A&M coach Jim Schlossnagle and Tennessee coach Tony Vitello coached before? TCU. I assume, just like many, many other people, the reason why Texas and David Pierce didn't announce their mutual split until the Monday of Game 3 in the College World Series Finals is Chris Del Conte was trying to give as much respect as possible to both of his top targets as they competed throughout the NCAA tournament. That's just my only explanation. And when you do it in Game 3, it's just, we gave you 3 weeks. You dragged it out a little bit. You didn't finish them off in 2 games. We are under so much pressure keeping this inside. We can't hold it anymore. And also, you are over there at Texas A&M, and also we are the real UT. So we'll try to take the spotlight from you as you get ready to play this Game 3 national championship tonight. Personally, I think Jim Schlossnagle should be the minus 250 favorite to be the next Texas Longhorns baseball head coach. Schloss is 53 years old and has 8 College World Series appearances to his name, and 5 of them were with the Horned Frogs. Del Conte didn't hire Schloss. However, Del Conte became the TCU AD in 2009. All 5 of TCU's Omaha appearances were under CDC. 2010, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. Del Conte and Schlossnagle have remained close friends, and it would make sense why CDC would want to keep Pierce's separation under wraps as long as possible here. Schloss has been a head coach in the state of Texas since 2004. This is the home run hire for Texas Longhorns, and A&M should be doing everything they can in order to retain Schloss in College Station. But I think the relationship and also Texas A&M could pony up here. They could definitely pay Schloss to be able to, feel comfortable and not have to move from College Station to Austin. But it depends on how Schloss prefers to live. I mean, you look at Austin, you look at College Station. I'm not going to go any further. I've never been to either city, but I've heard great things about both. But I know that Austin is the big city life, and it pertains to some more than others. But it makes sense why CDC wanted to keep this thing under wraps as long as possible, to pay respect to his buddy that he's trying to bring over to Texas. And I wanted to read this from Richard Zane. By the way, shout out. So he works for Texas Ags, but in his bio, he has LGRW. So go Red Wings. Richard Zane, shout out to you, my guy. So this was his question. Tremendous, all respect to Richard Zane here for asking this. A lot of people were curious. He got to ask the question in the post-game presser. It was the last question for Schloss of the presser. This is the question. I think it's delivered extremely, extremely well. I really do. He goes, with respect to the difficult outcome tonight, but with the rumors circulating today about a specific job opening, what do you have to say about your future in Aggieland? Schloss didn't like the question. He goes, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. Okay, so that's the first part of this answer. At this point, you're thinking, okay, this guy's still at Texas A&M. He's not leaving for Texas. Then you get to the second point here, and he starts to ramble and he's emotional. It's really kind of after he lost a one-run game in the national championship. You can't blame Schloss in this moment, but also he's rambling and he's getting caught in some of his words here. We've seen this from head coaches in many sports in the past. These little tyrants, or whatever you want to call it, and some of their last moments as a head coach at their position. He goes, that's unfair to talk about something like that. That would be like you asking Braden Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. So my sirens are going up here because Montgomery's obviously signing in the draft. He's going to be a top 10 pick in the 2024 MLB draft. So Schloss doesn't want the question to be asked to Monty, to Beaumont, and he also probably doesn't want the question to be asked to himself. So, is he taking the Texas? Like, yeah, right, right. And so he continues to go on and say, "But I understand you've got to ask the question. But I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job." I love how he refers to it at as this job, not like Texas A&M, like directly, not College Station directly here coming up either. I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I poured, past tense, I poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I gave, past tense, this job every ounce I could possibly give it. Write that. There's your quote from Jim Schlossnagle in the post game. Take with it what you want. I think this guy's heading. I think he's heading to Austin. Um, the other guy here who would strongly be in consideration for the Texas job also is Coach Tony Vitello. You know, he was an assistant coach under Schloss at TCU, where Del Conte was the athletic director. And after just winning a national championship, it sounds like the contract extension from Tennessee has been in the works for quite a bit. Xander Sechrist in the postgame also kind of hinted at possibly a lifetime contract for Tony V in Knoxville. So also the Volunteers, they've announced that they are making significant upgrades to Lindsey Nelson Stadium in the offseason, and there is now very strong momentum in the Volunteers program as the Vols, they've been the best program over the last 4 years, and it's not really a question mark. So put an exclamation next to that with a national championship during that 4 year span. And I think Tony Vitello has evolved for the long haul after building this program from the ground to the pinnacle in less than a decade. That's going to do it here for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed some of my newer names that I experimented throwing out there. All of it is just in pure speculation. I don't have any scoop. This was all just me going into the weeds, doing my own research on some connections and some possible routes, or just, straight up throwing some darts at the dartboard against, some big game, that Chris Del Conte might hunt here. Before I take off, I do want to say thank you all for tuning in to the college baseball experience throughout the season here. It's been an absolute blast. We were going weekly throughout the regular season, and also, throughout the postseason, we were basically going every day from conference tournaments to the NCAA tournament. Really do appreciate you guys jumping in and hanging out with me late at night in some of these to chop it up and talk some betting picks and whatnot. And, you know, my goal with this platform, at least, was just to lead people to the correct angle, some really good value in betting picks. I'm not telling you guys what to place. At the end of the day, you guys are hitting the confirm button on your apps. You're laying the money down at the windows. I'm just trying to get you going in the right direction. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below about this new Texas head coach vacancy, or hit me up on Twitter/X at NoahB77 underscore. The show is at TCE on SGPN. I'll be here daily, not daily, weekly throughout here July, providing some transfer portal, coaching carousel, MLB draft content. So drop a like and hit that subscribe button. Also, college football experience is going throughout the preseason here, doing 134 team previews for every single D1 FBS football team out there. The FCS college football experience will be doing conference previews coming up here pretty soon. The college basketball experience doesn't stop their off-season content either, as Moneyline Mac is striving to interview as many mid-major college coaches as he can. We've got a tremendous audience over there, probably our biggest on the network. So you've been experiencing the better side of college baseball with the college baseball experience. Adios, amigos.